For years, the team at Blind Frog Ranch has stared into the yawning darkness beneath the Utah desert, sensing that something immense, something ancient, has been hiding beneath their feet. The caverns, the flooded chambers, the improbable metallic readings, and the peculiar artifacts scattered across the ranch have all pointed toward a truth stranger than fiction. But in the latest twist of the mystery, an underwater beacon, an object unlike anything previously recovered on the property, has delivered a revelation so explosive it challenges every known map of ancient civilization. Blind Frog Ranch may not just sit on a treasure site. It may sit atop an entire lost aqueduct system engineered by the Aztec centuries before Europeans ever stepped foot on the continent. Eric Drummond, the team's geologist, had insisted for weeks that the underwater cavern network beneath the ranch was too structured, too symmetrical, too engineered to be natural. But it wasn't until a sonar sweep revealed a peculiar pulse emanating from a chamber 160 feet underwater that the team realized something was calling out from the darkness. The beacon wasn't metallic in the modern sense, at least not entirely. When Chad Ollinger pulled the object to the surface, drenched, shivering, and gasping for air after a dive through constricting rock passages, the team froze. The artifact was a fist-sized polyhedral stone wrapped in thin bands of an unidentified alloy. Symbols, spiraled and serpent-like, ran along its faces in a style reminiscent of Aztec iconography. But the beacon didn't just look ancient. When exposed to light, the engravings ignited with a faint blue shimmer, and when placed near water from the caverns, the object pulsed a rhythmic signal, an encoded vibration that traveled through the liquid like a heartbeat. For the team, it was the equivalent of unearthing a lost language. And buried within that signal was the blueprint to the impossible, a map of a hidden aqueduct system beneath the ranch. System older and smarter than Expecteto Eric's analysis, the signal the beacon emitted wasn't random. It carried sequences that mimicked hydrological patterns, flows, pressure changes, and drainage routes. Pieced together, the information created a three-dimensional model of the subterranean network. The team watched, transfixed, as the digital reconstruction revealed a spiderweb-like structure beneath the ranch. Long tubular passages intersected with what appeared to be massive cisterns. Floodgates, pressure chambers, and carved runoff channels connected to a larger system stretching beyond the property limits. Every section aligned with the precision of a civilization that mastered hydrodynamics. The model shared uncanny similarities with known Aztec aqueduct remains found in central Mexico, specifically the Chapultepec system, famed for its advanced water distribution capabilities. But here, hundreds of miles north, in a region the Aztecs were never historically known to inhabit, was a system even more advanced. This was Aztec engineering, preserved beneath the desert, functioning well enough to still carry water centuries after its collapse. The beacon had not only detected water routes, it had interacted with them. It had been designed for this place. A journey into the subterranean longsommed with the beacon and the new map. The team prepared for a descent into the newly identified central cistern, a vast underwater chamber suspected to be the heart of the aqueduct system. The underwater drone disappeared into the depths first, lights sweeping across stone walls that were unmistakably carved. Lines chiseled into the rock curved into repeating serpent motifs. Channels, still flowing, guided water with precision. In places, the stone was polished to a gleam. Duane Ollinger, who had seen nearly every bizarre and inexplicable event this ranch had thrown at them, stood speechless. "Something built this," he muttered, not as an exclamation, but as a reckoning. But the real shock came when the drone drifted into a narrow passage and found a sealed stone door, An ancient slab fitted flawlessly into its frame, still bearing the emblem of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent deity of water and wind. When the team lowered the beacon into the water near the slab, the carvings on the door ignited in a radiant blue glow, identical to the symbols on the artifact. The pulse synchronized, door and beacon sharing the same rhythmic signal. The next days spiraled into a whirlwind of testing, excavation, and historical reevaluation. If an Aztec aqueduct system existed beneath Blind Frog Ranch, far from the empire's known heartland, then everything scholars believed about pre-Columbian migration stood on unsteady ground. Eric's theory, though staggering, fit the data. A splinter group of Aztec engineers had journeyed north centuries ago, not fleeing, not exiled, but exploring, seeking resources, seeking safety, seeking something the empire needed desperately. The beacon revealed that this aqueduct system wasn't just vast underground distances. It was more complex than anything seen in Mesoamerica. The aqueduct might have been their greatest engineering triumph, but why here? The geology of the ranch offered the answer. The cavern system sits atop a natural water table that feeds into volcanic rock formations ideal for water filtration. This region, barren on the surface, concealed a paradise underground. For a civilization that revered water and depended on its control for survival, Blind Frog Ranch would have been a treasure beyond gold. The aqueduct system was a miracle of engineering, built by people who understood the land intimately and worked with it rather than against it. After weeks of study, Duane made the call. They would open the stone door. Chad and Charlie prepared the dive gear. Eric stabilized the beacon signal. With cameras rolling and hearts pounding, they descended into the central cistern. The water swallowed them whole. The door loomed ahead, symbols shimmering. Chad positioned the beacon into the carved recess at the center of the slab. It clicked into place as though it had always belonged there. The water trembled. The chamber vibrated. The engravings flared into full luminescence. The slab retracted with a thunderous rumble, releasing a geyser-like surge that sent the divers tumbling into the currents. When the water calmed, the opening revealed a dry tunnel beyond. A tunnel untouched by light for centuries. They swam through and emerged into a cavern filled with air, so still it felt preserved in a glass box. What they saw inside exceeded every expectation. The chamber was so vast their lights couldn't reach the ceiling. Pillars of carved stone rose from the floor like guardians. Runoff channels funneled water through a labyrinth of purification basins, each etched with glyphs depicting rituals of water and rebirth. But at the center lay the masterpiece, an artificial reservoir built with perfect geometric precision. Its marble-like walls defied erosion. Its water shimmered with clarity, and embedded in the central pedestal sat another artifact, a stone sphere engraved with the same pulsing symbols. The team realized then that the first beacon wasn't unique. It was a navigational tool, part of a larger system meant to maintain the aqueduct's flow. The Aztecs had designed the network like a living body, with nodes, pressure points, and monitoring devices. The second beacon linked with the first, creating a circuit that lit up the chamber with soft, spectral luminescence. The discovery sends shockwaves through archaeology, anthropology, and hydrology. Not only does it push the boundaries of Aztec engineering, it challenges the timeline of their expansion. What else might lie undiscovered in the hidden folds of the American Southwest? Why did the aqueduct stop functioning centuries ago? What happened to the engineers who built it? Were they a scouting party, a breakaway settlement, or the remnants of a migration attempt? And if these aqueducts were used to transport water, were they also used to transport something else? Blind Frog Ranch has never been short on mystery. But this discovery, confirmed by an underwater beacon pulsing with ancient intelligence, transforms the ranch into a historical epicenter. This is the rediscovery of an ancient engineering empire buried beneath the Utah desert. As the team emerges from the caverns, exhausted and trembling with adrenaline, the two beacons pulse in unison in the evening light. The map of the aqueduct glows with new clarity on their screens, because the map shows a final chamber far deeper than any they have entered, one that radiates with a stronger signal than both beacons combined. A chamber the Aztecs marked not with serpents, not with water glyphs, but with a symbol rarely seen outside the most sacred codices.